When I was little, my parents used to tell me I was their miracle baby. I didn't understand what that meant, just that they said it with a mix of love and sadness, like they were grateful I was there but afraid I'd disappear if they blinked too long. We weren't a big family, just me, my mom, and my dad. We lived in an old yellow house with ivy crawling up the siding and floors that creaked like they remembered every step. It always smelled faintly of cinnamon, lavender, and dust, the kind of scent that doesn't come from candles, but from time. Mom was obsessive about routines. Dinner at 6 sharp. Curtains closed before sunset. No guests after dark. And no mirrors upstairs. Ever. She said it was because she didn't like reflections at night. But sometimes I'd catch her looking at me through a spoon or through the glass of the oven with this strange, far-away expression, like she was studying me, trying to make sure something was still there. My birthdays were the strangest of all. Every year, June 5th, same cake, same music box, same number of candles. 5. Even when I turned 12, 16, 21. 5 candles. Always 5. When I was a kid, I thought maybe it was some weird family tradition. Maybe it meant good luck, or it was her way of remembering my 5th birthday, the one she always called the happiest day of our lives. But there was something off about those birthdays. They always felt rehearsed. The same dress my mom made me wear, white lace with a blue ribbon. The same song from the old record player. Even the same words. Make your wish, Leela. You know the rules. And every year, she'd cry when I blew the candles out. I thought it was because she was sentimental. But now I'm not so sure. When I was about 8, I started getting sick. My nose bled constantly. My skin went pale, and I'd get dizzy just standing up. Mom said it was just growing pains, but I remember how terrified she'd get whenever I fainted. She'd hold me in her arms and whisper things I didn't understand. Words that didn't sound like English. Once when I woke up, I swear I heard her saying, "Not again, please, not again." There are whole chunks of my childhood I barely remember, like entire summers erased. All I remember are birthday cakes and candles, and the smell of burnt wax. 2 weeks ago, I went up to the attic to clean, something Mom never let me do. The air was thick and dry, and I found a box labeled Leela 2008. Inside were my drawings, old dials, and photographs. But something felt wrong. In one of the photos, I was lying in a hospital bed. My eyes were closed, skin gray, lips pale. A nurse stood behind me holding a clipboard. The banner above me said, "Happy 10th birthday, Leela." Except scrawled across the bottom corner in my dad's handwriting were the words, "She's gone." There were hospital wristbands in the box too, all with my name. One had the date June 5, 2008. And at the very bottom of the box, a newspaper clipping. Tragic birthday. Local girl dies of seizure at 10th birthday party. Leela Miller, beloved daughter of Helen and Robert Miller, passed away June 5th following a sudden medical emergency. I couldn't breathe. I thought it had to be some sick misunderstanding. I ran downstairs, clutching the clipping. Mom was sitting at the kitchen table, sipping tea. When she saw it, her face drained of color. She whispered, "You weren't supposed to find that." "What does this mean?" I shouted. "Is this some kind of joke?" Dad walked in, his hands trembling. He told her to stop talking. But she stood up crying and said, "You were so sick, baby. You wouldn't wake up. We didn't want to lose you." My hands were shaking. "What are you talking about?" She looked at me like I was glass. "We found someone who could help. He promised he could bring you back. Just for a little while. But it wasn't supposed to last this long." I screamed. I told them they were insane. I locked myself in my room and cried until morning. When I woke up, my phone was filled with missed calls from Mom read. And one text, "You shouldn't have gone through the box. It confuses you." That day, I went to see my old childhood friend, Emma. We hadn't talked in years, but she lived nearby. When she opened the door, she froze. "Leela," she said like it was a ghost's name. I laughed awkwardly and said, Yeah, hi, long time no see. She didn't move. She whispered, that's not possible. When I asked what she meant, she said, I went to your funeral. She slammed the door before I could say another word. That night, I woke up to the sound of my mom's voice, singing softly, Happy birthday to you. It was 3:03 a.m. The house was dark except for candlelight flickering down the hall. When I peeked around the corner, I saw her holding a cake. The same one as always. 5 candles. Dad stood behind her, crying silently. Come on, sweetheart, she whispered. Just one more wish. I ran. I bolted out the back door into the woods, barefoot, heart pounding. The air was cold and smelled like rain and burnt wax. I didn't stop until I reached the old Peterson's house at the edge of the property. The woman who lived there now opened the door. When I said, please, I need help, I'm Leila Miller, she went pale. Sweetheart, she whispered, the Millers moved away 15 years ago. She pointed toward her hallway. There was a framed article on the wall, the same obituary. My photo. Underneath it, a candle. Still lit. I stumbled away from her house and ran until I found the main road. A car stopped. A man rolled down his window, asking if I was okay. When I told him my name, he frowned. Leila Miller, you mean the girl that died? They still talk about you every June. He drove me into town. I borrowed his phone to call 911, but the call dropped immediately. When I checked the phone, there was no signal and no reflection in the screen. Just static. When I got to a motel, I looked up the newspaper archives. My obituary was real. My parents' house was listed as condemned after a fire during an unauthorized medical experiment. I started crying. My hands were shaking so badly that wax, soft and warm, dripped from my palms onto the keyboard. It smelled like my birthday candles. Then my phone buzzed again. It was my mom. Sweetheart, don't be scared. We only wanted to bring you home. It's your birthday again. I don't sleep anymore. Every night, I hear faint singing from somewhere nearby. Sometimes in the motel mirror, I see movement behind me. A little girl. Pale. Wearing white lace. Sometimes she mouths the words, wake up. The lights flicker when she appears. Last night, I woke up with frosting under my fingernails. There was cake on the nightstand. 5 candles. I think the connection's breaking. The world around me glitches sometimes. Lights freeze, people pause mid-step. Birds hang in the sky like they forgot to flap. And I can hear them whispering. Mom, Dad, she's fading again. Light the candles. I don't know what's real anymore. I don't think this is life. I think it's a loop, one that resets every June 5th. Every year they bring me back. Every year I remember less. And every year I find that box again. I used to think I was alive because I could feel, think, breathe. But what if the only thing keeping me here is their grief? My phone buzzes again as I write this. A picture. Me at the motel desk, typing this message. Behind me, through the reflection of the window, my mom is standing there. And she's holding the cake. 5 candles. All burning down.